Hey, beautiful mamas, how are you? Listen, I have a special treat for you. I've been working on editing some videos for you. I have Jodie coming up now, and she has been a nurse for 29 years, the maternity and labor and delivery area. So we are talking today about what's important for you to learn about breastfeeding while you're pregnant, how to breastfeed, what to expect, all sorts of wonderful things. Hope you enjoy it. Take a listen. Hello, everybody. Listen, I'm so excited today. We're going to have a deep chat with our wonderful guest, Jodie Waugh. Jodie has been a labor and delivery nurse for 29 years and so much more. I mean, you just have such a wealth of knowledge. So it's going to be very informal. I'm going to ask you some questions I have, Jodie. And as we go through it, I know these moms are going to have more questions later, so maybe they'll send some questions in the chat. But thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. You?
Yeah, right on. Okay, wonderful. So thanks. So what I want to talk about today, in general, we're going to talk to experts, moms, just so you know about all the concerns that you have during your pregnancy, and there's lots of them. So I want you to get the best information from the experts and the specialists. That's why Jodie has given her time here today. So we're going to talk about breastfeeding difficulties. I'm looking here because some of the top worries are breastfeeding problems that mom have, low milk supply, and latching issues. So we started to talk about that before I recorded. But can you talk about that a little bit? First of all, Jodie, when we should start to learn about breastfeeding issues, like while we're still pregnant, right? And I'm thinking not so much at the beginning, but maybe in the third trimester. Is that right? What do you think?
Yes. The thing is that it's scary when you don't know something. So watching videos ahead of time, learning how to position the baby, there's different options and different ways of holding the baby when you're learning to breastfeed. Watch some videos to help get a little bit of tips and tricks. Diane is going to get some information on knowing the big question lots of people ask, lots of new moms ask is, how do I know the baby's going to get enough? When you're looking at a bottle, you can tell volume because the volume disappears. It's really tough to tell when you're breastfeeding how much volume the baby's going to get. So I'll go over that in just a minute here so that you understand. We have been breastfeeding babies for a very long time, and we have a few cues to pick up to know how often to feed, how much to feed, and how long to feed. And then we'll get a little more detail as to making sure we get proper latches, because breastfeeding is a little bit uncomfortable at the beginning, but it should not be painful. If it's painful, we'll talk a little more detail as to how to stop the feeding session just for a minute to unlatch the baby, reposition yourself, reposition the baby so that you can get yourself into a better latch, and then put the baby back on again so that we can try to prevent, because that's the biggest thing. We want to prevent nipple breakdown and we want to prevent painful. We want this experience to be a happy and a bonding and a good time between mama and baby, and to include the partner as well. We don't want it to be an agonizing torture session that you're not looking forward to.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, because we're all about a happy mama, a happy baby. And, as you mentioned before, the majority of women can breastfeed. And I believe more so now than ever they want to. So let's start with that. Then let's start with when you said they can watch how-to videos, right, in the third trimester. And that's just as easy as Googling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's different latch ones by Latch League. There's a breastfeeding clinic that's on website, and I'll give some links to Diane to pass on to you guys to go watch, because some of them are a little bit better than others that help show positioning and the details about it, because we want you to go into this with open eyes, understanding that not every baby reads the books and watches the videos that you watch. So just because you have one baby that breastfed beautifully after it was born, sometimes baby number 2 or number 3 forgot the Cole's notes. So sometimes you need a little more help and teaching them, because they need to learn how to do this the same as a new mom needs to learn how to do it. So with a little bit of patience and a little bit of support, it's not very often that a mama cannot breastfeed.
That's a great point. Every baby is different. Okay, so this is important. Without the bottle showing how much they're getting, let's talk about that, about the size of the baby's tummy and how much milk they actually need.
So I will pass out a graph so you guys can kind of see what it is that we're looking at. But you'll notice that when the baby is first born, the baby's stomach is only about the size of a chickpea. It's very, very, very tiny. And that is the most important time to feed. Often, as soon as a baby's born, we want to try to get the baby on breast because this is the most amazing milk called colostrum. Colostrum is full of antibodies, it's full of calories, it's full of nutrition, and it's just such an amazing part of the breast milk for a baby to get to. And so we want that first feed to be on as soon as possible after birth. After about day 3 or 4, your milk is starting to come in. A breastfed baby's stomach will stretch to about the size of a cherry. It's not very big. And the thing is that breast milk digests very quickly, but it's so full of calories. You will find that breastfed babies feed more frequently. But the nice thing is you don't have to prep bottles. You don't have to warm milk. You don't have to check the temperature. Everything's ready to go at a second's notice, right?
You can almost sleep while you're doing that.
Yes.
Yes.
And then once your milk is well established, you'll see on the chart at about 2 weeks, milk is well going. And this year about the size of a walnut now. So babies will start a little bit of more bigger feeds. They'll be a little more established with the breastfeeding. Mama's milk is well established at this time, and you should be able to have the feed separate a little bit. Babies need to feed about 8 to 10 times per 24-hour period. So I usually tell moms be on them all day, every 3 hours feed. And then if they go a little bigger gap at night, and I'm talking 4 hours, enjoy it, have your little sleep, don't freak out. But during the day, just keep making sure you feed. And then, sorry?
First weeks, did you say?
Once the baby starts getting established with their feedings. Because some people, you do have to be careful because some people say, oh, my newborn slept like 8 hours at a time. That's not normal. Babies should not be sleeping. We have to worry about sugar and dehydration if babies are sleeping that long.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. So every 3 hours, it's just you're constantly doing this. Got it.
Right. And so the question is always, how do I know? Like, again, when you look at a bottle, you can see that 1 or 2 ounces is out of the bottle. When you are breastfeeding, we want to look at, we can't see how much is coming in, but we can for sure see how much is coming out. So the little graph that Diane's going to send out to you guys is going to show on day 1, you're looking for 1 wet diaper in 24 hours. That's it. So you really have to watch. When you look on a newborn diaper, you will see that there's a little line in the middle of the bottom of the diaper, and it will turn like a bluish, greenish color, and that will tell you the baby has had a urination, has peed. Right. On day 2, you'll see about 2 wet diapers because they're only getting a small amount of colostrum at this time, right? On day 3, you'll get about 3. Day 4, 4. Sorry, but the wrong ones. 4 on day 5, 5, and then at about day 6 to 7. Milk typically is in at this time. You're actually going to go through a little bit called engorgement. Milk is going to be in a lot more supply at this time. So you should be having 5 to 6 wet diapers in a 24-hour period. And you should be able to feel the weight of that diaper. Like they should have a good pee. Poops, those are a whole other story. You will see color changes. Typically with a breastfed baby, you're going to see a yellow, seedy, like we usually say like a Dijon mustard type of color. And it's going to be very seedy. Babies can go anywhere from 2 to 3 times a day to every 1 to 2 days. Very rare do we get breastfed babies that are constipated. That is very common with bottle-fed babies, however. So with breastfed babies, you really don't have to worry if the baby goes for a couple of days without pooping, but you definitely have to stay on top of the pee.
Okay, and that would be because they're just digesting that milk, that breast milk so quickly? Okay.
Yes, so it just passes right through them.
Yeah, excellent. This is so great to revisit because it's been a long time. So what about when moms want to learn more about the latching? Because that was so important, what you were showing me, and the positioning of that would be really helpful for our moms here too. So lots of people don't realize that sounds strange, but your nipple doesn't have just one stream or one hole in it to bring milk out.
there's multiple streams of ducts, it's called, that the milk comes out. And so we want to make sure that the baby maximizes the amount of milk. The other big thing is that when you're looking at a picture of a breast, so here is a breast and here's the baby's mouth over top of the breast. You want to make sure that the baby is not just taking the nipple. The actual milk ducts are in behind the areola. So the dark part of around the nipple is where the milk ducts are. So it's really important that when the baby latches, that the baby doesn't just get on the tip or just on the nipple. You want to make sure that when the baby opens her mouth and is looking for food, that the baby gets on all the way back to the areola, the back part of the breast, so that when they're drawing on the milk duct themselves, and then it comes out through the nipple into the very posterior or back of the mouth. This is what's going to, one, is prevent pain. It's going to prevent the breakdown of the nipples, and it's going to allow them to get the best milk supply. And it helps also prevent mastitis. We don't want that.
Thanks for dropping by and watching the show with me today. I hope you really got something out of it. Hey, listen, I just want to remind you that if you are carrying a baby, you also need to be carrying a subscription to our YouTube channel, because we're going to give you all the information that you really need to make the most out of your pregnancy and have the most enjoyable journey. And I have a very special offer I want to tell you about. I've been helping moms enjoy their pregnancy, reduce pain, and get the most out of their pregnancy for over 20 years. And I've built an online workshop that I'm doing right now to help new moms really understand the 3 fundamental secrets that you need to know so that you can go through your entire pregnancy and labor with as little pain as possible. So if you want to watch the workshops and join me, go to havingababy.io. We'll see you on the next show.